Sorry about that, everyone. Just some minor technical difficulties there. Just had to change some stuff around and do some stuff I forgot to do before the show. But hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Legacy Loading, episode number 2 to be precise. And joining me is my buddy, my friend, and my pal, Mr. Insidious Bliss. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic, and I should probably take some of the blame for the uh, stage or the show setup because I was just yammering in his ear for a good 10 minutes before the show started.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I just forgot. I figured I would know how to do this by now, but I still don't.
It's all right. I'm just trying to pretend I'm interested, Carl. Give it to me.
No worries.
Let me have this.
Never. It is always my fault. But yeah, today we're going to be doing I guess you would say not controversial, but a more interesting topic. And that is going to be we are covering the ESRB, the very famous rating system here in the United States that has basically different rating systems across the world. Obviously, I think it's like PEGI is for Europe, Cerno I think is Japan, and I don't know everywhere else. I don't know. I think the Middle East has one too. The little fun thing
Yep.
that tells you exactly what the age appropriateness is, and probably has stopped a few kids from getting Grand Theft Auto for Christmas every year. So
That's likely true. Likely true. Unless they had parents like mine who just didn't really care. Got it anyways.
right. So with that being said, obviously we're going to be watching another episode of Icons, show from G4 back in the day. Just kind of like what we did with Onimusha. This is going to be roughly about 21 minutes and 30 seconds long. And on top of that, too, we're going to talk about how it's shaped the future as well with everything. Bliss, do you have anything you'd like to say before we begin? Obviously, this all started kind of relatively a little bit before my time, but you're a little bit older than me, so you might remember some of the controversies and stuff like that. Obviously, we know a lot of the more famous ones like Mortal Kombat and Doom and Dungeons and Dragons and all this stuff kind of all play into this 80s Puritan satanic panic kind of craze.
Yep. Yeah, I guess, thanks for having me on too, Carl, because I know that you chose me because I'm an old bastard. But hey, ESRB, government stuff, it kind of works a little bit into like what I do for a living. But I'm happy to talk about it. So I'm actually really excited for this one.
Yeah, and before you try to say because you're old, just be aware I gave you 3 choices and this is the one you chose.
Yeah, because I am old. I fully admit. It's just like, none of these young bucks are going to be able to really talk about this because they were like a glint in their father's eye at that point.
I wasn't even a thought really in my so I was born in 91. So that's I think most of this stuff probably took place in the mid to late 80s. I think one things I remember was it wasn't just video games at the time; it was also movies as well. I think from what I recall, I don't and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the last like truly unrated movies in the 80s at least was actually Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, right?
That sounds correct.
Yeah, because
Yeah, it was both movies and also with music. Because I think movies and music already had something in place by the time got around to video games. So they were kind of late to the party. But yeah, this was the Wild West.
Yeah, because I remember watching. I don't know if it was like the video game nerd or if it was like Red Letter Media or someone like years ago at this point, but they were like, yeah, it feels like Temple of Doom was like one of those last like PG movies before they added the PG-13 because of all
That
the
sounds
like
right.
violence and stuff. So like, yeah, that's where we're gonna like kind of kick this off at here. Obviously, we'll be pausing. So Bliss, if you have anything that you'd like to say, thoughts on something as we're playing it, just let me know and I'll pause it. Of course, we're gonna just because of fair use, we're gonna be pausing it a decent amount of times. So with that being said, here the desktop photo. All right, and let's begin.
It began as a political debate at the highest levels in Washington.
I believe that the industry knew it had a problem that needed to be addressed.
I hope you walk away with one thought today.
Now, I have no idea who this guy is. Do you know who he is?
No, I don't even remember him. Like, he is not really the face. Like, usually when you think of this, you're thinking of the other guy, which is Joe Lieberman.
I think you're about to show him too. And also, I think, like, Tipper Gore, she was also a big part of this movement as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think even like, was it Ronald Reagan's wife? Was she involved at some point?
Nancy Reagan? I feel like she might have been. I wouldn't shock me.
So it was definitely an issue on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
Members of Congress talking about video games being the sort of the decline and fall of Western civilization and destroying our youth and leading them down the path of no good.
And brought the game industry together.
We began sort of in a crisis, in a reactive way.
They changed minds.
They know that if they go too far, there is a regulating body that's going to say, hold it. That's a little bit too much for...
Kind of looks like Cal Kestis, this guy. Doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
I'm happy I'm not the only one that thought that. I was like, please, God, please.
You know, and it's interesting, too, because they're like talking about how it brought the industry together. I don't know if they're going to get into this, but like the Nintendo Sega war was real when this was going on.
Yeah.
Like they were going after each other in the hearings. But we'll give it a chance. I want to spoil everything.
Right. I also have one more question too, because it's funny they showed I think it's a GameStop, obviously, with like the little M for mature thing. Have you ever been carded to buy a physical game?
You know, there was only one time I can remember where someone like actually prevented me from buying something. Have you ever heard of a game called Phantasmagoria 2?
I feel like I have, but it's not like the image is not coming to my head.
Okay, so Old Sierra horror game, and it's got like some, not even like Cinemax level of like set scenes. I mean, it's got like probably like some dry humping type stuff going on.
Some
in
softcore action.
there. Murder. Yes, that was the only time. Like when you would go into a store and buy something, like you were never really being carded or stopped or anything. Like you were just at that time was just mostly like going through. And I don't know if it was just like the people didn't know what they were selling you or people just really didn't care. But like, yeah, you would just go in and buy it. And there was only one time, and that was late. And with a, not really an extreme game, but like one that actually after the ESRB, and got those warnings on there.
Yeah, you know what's funny? 2 years ago at the old GameStop I used to work at, one of the new employees actually carded me. And I gave him like this weird look. I'm like, I work here. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, you guys see my ID, And I think that was just like I said, 2 years ago, and I just felt like this is the weirdest thing ever to happen. And of course, it was I was just like, it's company policy. I'm like, bro, do I look 18? It's like, what the fuck do you mean?
Yeah. Hey, listen, like nowadays, like I would take it as a compliment if someone carded me, but that's never gonna happen.
Yeah, well, I already have to worry about that enough because everyone thinks my wife is like 16 because she's like short. So I already have to deal with that stigma.
Nice.
All right, let's continue.
Or the audience that you're shooting for.
And the way we look at games.
You gotta know what games are right for you.
The industry takes the ESRB very, very seriously.
This is how the entertainment software
I think I
ratings
remember
board,
that
Check the
commercial.
rating.
or the ESRB, was created.
When you check the rating, the control's in your hand.
How's it sound on your end too, Bliss?
Sounds and looks good.
Good.
Except for that ESRB logo. Like, what were they thinking with all those colors?
I don't know. It is Pride Month, so.
Do you really think we should be leaving them here alone?
Why not?
Well, do you think
Did you ever play Night Trap out of curiosity?
Hell no. Like, I would have wanted to as a kid because all of this looked fantastic. Right? Because, like, I was used to, like, all of the pixelated graphics. So, like, actually having real people, like, that was like, oh, this is going to be just like real life. And it's, the gameplay's pretty awful.
I want to get one of the limited run reprints of it because I know they did one for like the Switch and the PS4. So I kind of want to just do it one day. Maybe like a fun little stream. We'll see.
Yeah, play that. And what was the one I really wanted? Sewer Shark.
I don't even know that one. That's interesting. I'll have to look at that later.
They can handle it.
Of course they can. What could possibly go wrong?
What are you doing now?
Video games have a history of controversy.
Mortal Kombat. Phasmagoria. This is the game you were just talking about. There you go.
Yeah, this is the first one. This also had like
Early
a
explicit
rape scene
games
at the
like-
front.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, the
wild.
game starts off with a rape scene, but it's still relatively tame in today's standards.
Well, we got to see two men having sex in The Last of Us 2, so I guess that's very tame now. All jokes aside, wow, interesting.
Like Gotcha. Released by Atari. Push the envelope.
Gotcha.
It was we were young and dumb and trying to figure things out, and everyone was talking about.
This is like the equivalent of finding out your mom did like OnlyFans speech right here. You know, your mom did porn speech
Exactly.
right here. You got Bush Noel just going like, yeah, we were young and dumb.
Yeah, I mean, a
Valid
lot of
mix.
those game companies did that. Like Sierra had like a bunch of not just like Leisure Suit Larry level of porn games, but actual like adult games.
Yeah,
So
like,
it was a wild time.
like Custard's Revenge. I wonder if they'll bring that up here.
Oh, probably.
Oh yeah.
Nature of joysticks. And so we thought, well, maybe it would be good to have
Two big pink rubber controllers on the base of the game.
in which you were manipulating breasts. So we had these sort of breast-shaped controllers.
And grab the public's attention.
It was really one of the first pornographic games. It had a certain lurid appeal that some people went for and some people didn't.
The game was a total failure. And I don't know if it was the game or whether it was the controllers, but the whole thing didn't work.
What the hell? I've never heard of this game. I wonder if there's like a guy that still has a gotcha thing that works. I want to know more about this now.
Yeah, I haven't even heard of that game. Like it must
Wow.
have died fast.
Oh, it must have really died fast. They were even embarrassed of it. It's like, I don't know what we were thinking.
Exactly.
More games follow, like Death Race in 1976, released by Exidy. The game draws such public outcry for its violence. PTA mother Ronnie Lamb proposes regulation on arcades.
Ronnie
Kind of
Lamb.
at the center of this was Ronnie Lamb from Babylon, New York. She appeared on the Donahue show, and she was just everywhere, attacking video games, and she was very vocal.
Do you know any of this lore? Because this is like all interesting to me.
No, this is beyond even my time. Well, let's say I know some of the stuff behind him, like the
Yeah.
Pac-Man, but like Ronnie Lamb, no.
Or the Paul Donahue show? Is that what he said?
Phil Donahue, yes,
Oh,
that
Phil
I do know.
What is that? I have no fucking clue. This is probably like the second time I've heard this because I probably have seen this episode when I was a kid, but I've forgotten all of this. So what was that show?
Basically, think Jerry Springer, but Jerry Springer's grandfather running it.
Oh, okay. So Proto Springer.
And yes, not even shock. It was just like, that kind of format though, without all the shock and value. It was like some old dude with like thick glasses. Yeah. They'll probably show him on here, I would imagine.
We'll see.
He did lead a lot of people, like in Texas, there were big court cases where arcades were limited in the hours they could open and where they could be located.
The case goes all the way to the Supreme Court, where justices declined to rule on its constitutionality.
Shot me down, no Phil.
And the game industry marches on.
The growth of the industry, I think, is really one of the great stories of the 90s. 10 years ago, this industry was mostly about adolescent boys. And what's happened is the Nintendo generation grew up.
The video game industry has certainly evolved significantly over the last couple of decades.
Why is her eyes all fucked up?
You know, I didn't want to say anything, but like, yeah, she's definitely got those crazy eyes. Like, you know, this is pretty open, but the fact that they keep getting wider when she starts talking.
Yeah, that's weird. That's like a tick.
Graphic capabilities have advanced. Gameplay has advanced. Lots more different types of content elements have been introduced.
Oh man, this was peak gaming right here with some GTA 3 action over here.
Yeah, GTA 3, was it that Carmageddon game? I saw little clips of that.
Yeah, I've never played Carmageddon. Did you?
Oh yeah. Come on, like a game like that comes out, like, you know, you see that, it's just like you drive around, it's freeform racing, you're just splatting all the pedestrians. Of course we're gonna play that game.
Yeah, for sure. I what was I gonna say? It was inspired by Death Race, right? That movie.
I think so. The things were like constantly being like riffed on video games back then. Like Japan's really all about that, as you probably will know.
Right.
But you know, at that point too, like a lot of things were just like lifted from other popular media, and it's not like now where, you know, you do that and you get claims of like copyright. Back then, it was still, you had some of that stuff going on, but not as much as today.
Right. Okay, let's continue.
In the 1992 arcade game Mortal Kombat, those elements included violently infamous finishing moves.
That was one of the first really controversially violent games because it had the fatalities.
Why does this guy look like Fat John Lennon?
You're right.
He looks like Fat John Lennon. I know I'm not insane. He's even got the fucking Lennon sideburns.
Right, John Lennon, but with a few extra chili dogs.
Yeah. Conspiracy theory. John Lennon didn't die. This is him.
Yeah. Where you would finish him, and then the head would fly off, and the brains would fly over, and the spine would go someplace.
You know,
people were really crazy about that game at the time.
I gotta say this. Looking back about how actually tamed those fatalities are compared to what they are now, I wonder if any of these like advocates are alive still, and how insanely appalled they must be now, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Because, you know, back then, like, all of this was just, like, amazing. Like, you'd never seen anything like it, right? And it was realistic. Because that's, like, you know, a few years before, you were just looking at little pixels.
Right.
So, I kind of get it. Like, you know, if it were me today, like, would I kind of see like, oh, you know, like now I realize like some of the stuff that I would have thought was like amazing and groundbreaking is just really tame. But, you know, because that's what you had and that's what we were living with at the time, you know, that still seems pretty normal. Like I don't hold it against myself for, you know, thinking that way. And so I imagine they'd probably be something a little bit similar.
Maybe, or they'd just be more appalled because it's like, you know, at first I thought it couldn't get worse, but now I'm seeing people get filleted and turned into hamburger meat. You know?
Right. They're like, yeah, all the kids turned into furries. We were right all along. So
fun game. It was interesting. I think the rating
system.
Oh,
look at that BioWare co-founder.
So it's interesting when you look at some of the content that's in mainstream media, and you compare it to the content that's in games. And in many cases, what you can see on the primetime news is as violent or even more violent in many cases than what you'll get in media such as video games or movies.
I mean, he's not wrong.
And it gets Washington's attention.
I think there was a growing concern about violence in some of the games. Mortal Kombat and Doom that were getting attention at that point in time. So it was a growing concern about violence in video games.
How would the industry react?
Poorly. That's the correct answer. Poorly.
That's true. Both the industry, the government, people, it was a wild time.
Five teenage girls have disappeared. Your mission? Protect those girls. You don't have the brains or the
Jesus
guts for
Christ.
this assignment. Give the controls to someone who does.
As the game industry matures, so does its target audience. Titles such as and Mortal Kombat are designed to appeal to a different audience. But not all companies take this route. When Mortal Kombat is released on home consoles, Nintendo only allows a less violent, bloodless version of the 2D fighter to be ported to the Super Nintendo.
It is so ironic now when you hear this about Nintendo, and then you come to like modern day about like censorship and stuff like that in gaming. And Nintendo is much more lax about this now than even Sony and Microsoft in some respects.
Yeah, like what they allow in their store, like you could, like they're gonna have it in here, but you can go and buy Night Trap on the Nintendo.
Yeah.
Today, right? Where I'm sure they'll get into it, but like one of the major points of Nintendo is like, you'll never find that on our system. And it was just weird because, like, the game companies did try to like regulate some of this, and like they did it in different ways. Like Nintendo had like, their seal of quality and what games they would allow on there. Sega had their own kind of rating systems on there, but it's kind of dodgy about what games were related, and not everything did. So
Right. No, it's just so weird to think like Mortal Kombat during this time had to be gray or green. It was sweat, not blood. And then you had like you see it today, even if it runs like asshole. The new Mortal Kombat games are on there, and you're just shredding the shit out of people.
Right.
It's so wild.
Yeah, and it was a big thing because like the rivalries were huge back then, right? So like you'd have some friends that were like diehard Nintendo, and like I had Sega Genesis, so whenever we wanted to play Mortal Kombat, we'd go bring it up on the Genesis and enter in that blood code.
Right.
And that was kind of annoying to do every time, but you needed that blood.
You need to get that blood into Bloodsport, right?
Exactly.
Alrighty, let's continue.
Violent video games. Back then, it was the very first Mortal Kombat game, and a game that didn't really have a lot of commercial success, but got a lot of attention, a game called Night Trap.
Your parents are gone, so come on, Pharaoh, what's the first thing you think of? Party!
I think the best
I'm
one
acting.
is Night Trap for the Sega CD, which has the distinction of being a bad direct-to-video B-horror movie as a game. Starred Dana Plato.
We're going in.
It had decent production value.
No idea.
They say that like I should know that name.
One of the sleepaway camp movies. It's not Friday the 13th, it's not Nightmare on Elm Street, but they're really
Poor man's
trying
Charlie
hard,
Sheen.
Guess so.
to give you something compelling.
While gamers and critics alike pan titles such as Night Trap, the violent and racy games ignite a firestorm in Washington, spearheaded by Democratic Senator Joe Lieberman.
Joe Lieberman.
And the game industry responds.
The IDSA formed back in late 93, early 1994. The Interactive Digital Software Association is a trade association. We are the voice of the video and computer game industry on public policy issues in Washington at the state level.
So bullshit. That's basically what it is. So bullshit.
Pretty much. Did they turn into the ESA?
I think they might have. We're about to find out. That's for sure.
Level.
Just lobbyists, basically. They're just
pivotal
lobbyists.
Event that triggered the formation of the organization was the very first wave of criticism from Senator Joe Lieberman and Senator Herb Kohl of violent video games.
I believe that the industry knew it had a problem that needed to be addressed.
There was concern about these games.
Why do you need to go across that line and...
Doesn't he just look like a person that like hates black people? Like, this is what I think about, like, right here. Senator
No comment.
Senator from Connecticut, old-looking man. It's just like it just screams blue blood. This the kind of guy that calls brown people to help.
Right. And just look at those hairlines, like every one of them.
Jolie, this is the one of the representatives you were talking about, right? Earlier, that's who you mentioned.
Yeah, he is really like, I think like when you think back to this, Joseph Lieberman is the guy you think about. 'Cause he was really kind of like leading most of these hearings. And yeah.
Ironically
I'm
speaking,
sure we'll get into it more.
Yeah, ironically speaking, the two people that they show for the face of this movement so far, both Democrat senators. It's kind of funny.
That's true.
Use this stuff for adults or kids.
Members of Congress talking about video games being the sort of the decline and fall of Western civilization and destroying our youth, leading them down the path of the no good. And the industry felt that we needed to respond in some way, in a proactive way. Senator Lieberman was talking about introducing, and in fact did introduce legislation to create a federal rating system for video games. And we felt that it was much more productive for the industry to self-regulate.
There were congressional hearings in the early 90s that took a serious look at the video game industry and wanted to make sure that the video game industry was acting responsibly.
While on his warpath against violence in gaming, Senator Lieberman focuses on Mortal Kombat and Night Trap as offending examples. Adding to the controversy, the game industry faces its own internal strife over the conflict. As an uncensored version of Mortal Kombat is released on the Genesis console, rumors surface about Nintendo spurring the debate on violent games to hinder Sega's success.
You were just talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, even like if it's funny because like I would almost never recommend that you watch hearings, but my goodness, like there was a lot of drama in those hearings. So like, you know, going back and or, I don't know how much to get into this, but like finding that and seeing like how the games industry like we're just using this opportunity to take shots at each other, like one up each other even on them, like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And I think really like Nintendo had like more charismatic people. Sega sent their guy in and he famously like flubbed the line and like, you know, basically threw himself under the bus accidentally. But, you know, they are something to go back and watch because like the rivalry was real. And even like, as you'd think, like it's in their own interests to like band together and like not be regulated.
Right.
You know, they were certainly willing to throw each other underneath the bus just to try to look better. To like, oh, well, we're better. This is why we're doing it this way, even back then.
Yeah, and also I was just looking up Lieberman. He passed away last year. Huh. I was just double checking that.
I knew he passed away. I thought it was honestly a lot longer ago.
I thought so too because I was curious because, God, those guys had to have been in. They were ancient in that photo. All right, it's
yeah.
So like just to put that in perspective, I think it says here 82. That's how old he was when he died. So he looked ancient in like the late 80s and early 90s. So,
and I might be thinking of that other Jack Thompson, I think passed away longer, which was the anti-video game attorney.
Oh,
remember him.
I wonder if they'll bring him up because I that's interesting. I'll have to do some more. We'll continue here.
Success. Tensions peak in 1993 when Washington gives the game industry an ultimatum. They must get their act together and agree on a rating system within 1 year, or else.
I hope you walk away with one thought today, that if you don't do something about it, we will.
Herb Cole.
In 1994, the Recreational Software Advisory Council, RSAC, is formed and develops a content-based rating system.
The RSAC one was actually really good because it was an
I remember
objective
this
set of
though.
questions that you went through. Anybody, you could take a game like Doom and go through the questions, you get the same rating. Doom was one of the first products to come out and subjected itself to the RSAC. That's good information to pass around.
RSAC.
But it didn't make it because it wasn't quite
RSAC, your sack.
Wasn't quite.
Our sack, your sack, we're all sacks.
You know,
go on.
I was gonna say, I guess this is a good point. It is like of all the outcomes, like of how kind of at the time scary it was because like, you know, I was still younger, but like the thought of like the government stepping in and like taking away or making it so that you can't play Mortal Kombat, or at least the good traditional Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
like getting to the point to where it was they told the industry you have to self-regulate is probably the best outcome you could have hoped for, with all of the commotion and all the hysteria that was going on about this. So, I guess at the time, I would have never realized it. I like, fuck them for trying to take games away.
Right.
But really, like the resolution that we got to, while not perfect, was actually a pretty decent one.
Yeah, I think it works. For sure, because but at the same time, we can talk about that more about the future stuff too. After this stuff.
Like the movies.
Meanwhile, the IDSA gets to work on its own rating system.
We felt it was much more productive for the industry to self-regulate rather than face federal ratings, which not only I think would have been unconstitutional, but they certainly would have been,
I love that.
I think, quite problematic.
The FBI's
So
coming
the
for your
industry
games.
came together united and said, how do we act responsibly to respond to this concern? The industry recognized it had a responsibility to parents and to our consumers as we got bigger. And we had a responsibility to tell people what was in our product and to help them make informed decisions.
And out of the IDSA, the ESRB, a self-regulating rating system, is born.
The sense was to create this trade association that would be able to represent the industry on policy issues. And the first act was to create a rating system, now known as the Entertainment Software Rating Board.
The rating system is based on the motion picture industry's rating system, but is more detailed.
What the ESRB is responsible for is much like the movie industry, where the movie's rated R or PG-13 or G for everyone, or NC-17. They perform the same function for video games. Actually,
we don't even see some of those ratings a little bit more. I'm going to go back a little bit here. Let's try it
comprehensive. The ESRB has certainly given the industry.
Also, this is the protagonist of Naughty Dog's new game over here.
A really good set of guidelines to follow, and everyone follows them. There's no game released without ESRB rating. It helps clearly define what
Hold on a second.
Target audience is.
What?
Whoa. There is no game release without the ESRB? My man, the ESRB, the rating system, is voluntary. I think what he's confusing is, like, most retailers won't sell games. Like Walmart has a policy, but like you can have a game that is unrated. Like, and this gets to, I think, more of like the feature state, but like it is a voluntary system. You do not have to submit your game for rating. But there are things like if you're going to advertise it on TV, or a lot of stores will not sell your game if it's not rated. But it is not something that has to be done.
I feel like also this was during a time when physical media still mattered.
Right.
Now it's kind of more of a Wild West kind of thing, where it's like, if you're going to try to like get on, say, for example, like back in the day, it was the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, the GameCube, the 64, PS1, whatever you want to talk about. Like, in order to be carried, you actually probably had to pass this a lot more, so it mattered more back in the day. Versus like now, you can completely even bypass Steam and just make your own video game and sell it wherever you can,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more meaningful. Like it was theoretically a death sentence. Like if you did not get, if you got like an AO rating, adults only.
Yeah.
Because like most stores wouldn't carry you. But it is not something where you actually have to do it. But it was basically like if you're looking to sell it into a store, and maybe that's what he meant by that.
Probably. It's also, like I said, we're talking about parlance at the time, So, like, for this, it made probably more sense for him to say that, circa 2004 when he was talking about this, or something around that time.
Fair enough.
Versus like us now. It's like, to be honest with you, it's like I've never actually seen an adults-only game ever. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's still like, well, now I guess with Steam, like you see a lot of those, but a lot of them probably wouldn't even submit their game for rating, right?
Right.
But like at that point, like if that's what your game is, what would be the point? Because there is an expense to do that, to get it rated and a process. And right, like you think back to your point, like at that time you were either sending like VHS tapes or Like I think I saw something talking about, it took him an extremely long time to like switch over to DVDs.
Yeah.
So, and they're only recently moving towards like online, like having to submit that. And you had to submit, if you think about it, like gameplay, you'd probably have to spend a decent amount of tape, according to like get your point across for them to review it. So
Right. And on top of that too, it's just like what we're talking about too. It's like we know that there were like adults only games like that came out. That they were like still fuck it. We know what we're trying to get out there.
Right.
But it's just like it was so rare to see. It's like an NC-17 film, it's like it's there, but it's just like you never really got to see it, It's just like it's how can you say this? It's like when you watch a nature film and you like see like a white elk, It's like there's proof it exists, but I've never seen one,
Right. Listen, if you're adult only games, you're not walking into Walmart, right? You're gonna be using the catalog.
Right,
Like
exactly.
special catalog.
You gotta go to the smut peddlers.
Right.
Let's carry on.
For the game.
Shortly after its introduction in
Oh
1994.
god damn it! I missed it again. But like, I guess it's like the early childhood ratings and stuff like that. You don't see those like labels anymore. Like kids and adult like labels, they kind of all disappeared, huh?
Yeah. I think even like somewhat recently, like they officially retired some of those. Because I think it was the ESRB that had like like was it kids to adults or something like that? And it's like, well, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, like early
Or
childhood.
now
or
it's
something.
everyone.
Or E10. I think they got rid of E10 as well.
E10, yes, that's because like, you got like the 13 or 10. What's really the difference between a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old for games?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I still got some of those old games in my collection that still have the KA,
Yeah.
So
and you see like now they have like more descriptions on them than I think before. Where it's not just the rating, but you get like the, like cartoon violence or things like that also
Right.
listed.
1994, I was 3 years old. Bliss, you were 13, I'm guessing, right?
Yep.
Game developers and publishers quickly adopt the ESRB rating system.
The industry takes the ESRB very, very seriously. It's a responsibility not only of developers and publishers, but it's a responsibility of everyone to make sure you know what audience the game is intended for. It's up to developers, it's up to publishers, it's up to parents.
But how does the ESRB work?
A publisher has a product that isn't completely finished yet, but
Why was she look
close
confused
enough
by that
so
statement she
they
was
can
about to say?
assemble submission materials that include a video tape of all of the most extreme content in a game, as well as the context, the storyline, the characters, the setup, any introductory sequences, anything that would give us an indication as to the content elements in the game. And
So you were right about that. They actually had to submit a videotape.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like right now, like we can pause and stuff and like rewind pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing that, like having to have a meeting to talk about the content and you're like watching it on an old VHS tape, you have to pause, rewind, and hope that you get to the right spot. So what a nightmare that must have been. Like I would
has a
not
product
envy
that
them in their
isn't
job.
completely finished yet.
Yeah, like she was so confused by like what she was about to say next. No, but you're also right too, because like they had to buy like video cameras, and they weren't cheap back in the day either to do all that shit.
Yeah, and I mean, you didn't have all of the video capture stuff we have today, right?
Right.
Like, I remember like trying to like take pictures for like Nintendo Power and send that in. Right? They had to do give you tips on how to do it because like I took the picture and of course like I basically got a picture of myself in the TV flash, the reflection coming back at me and didn't get the high score. But like, you just didn't have that. Like your video equipment, it was all kind of like hodgepodge. So
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's like now we think back on it, it's just like videotapes, cassette, like they probably weren't that expensive, relatively speaking, but like the camera itself to record in that, those weren't cheap. Especially in the early 90s, late 80s, those were still a luxury item to do it.
Right. Well, even like I heard some anecdote about like submitting the submissions and like generally because like, you'd have like developers and stuff, but also like smaller game companies are doing it. And you'd end up with like tapes being sent in that'd be like, half of their gameplay and other half is like someone was obviously just reused a tape that they had. So it was like a hockey game or something. So
Well, on top of that too, you got to consider this as well. You get like a rating back that you don't want to hit, then you got to fucking go back and redo, censor, change, extra work as well.
yeah. Because I mean, you go and you try to hit something. Now it's not necessarily like a death sentence, but like they're typically like going for like we want to be able to market and sell to these, this age range. And if you're not hitting it, you have to go back and ask the team that spent a lot of time that already did this and basically have like a near finished product to go back and redo all of their work or
Right.
change their artistic vision.
Right.
And what's the right amount to cut. And there's no guarantee, like if you do that, because then you have to go back and resubmit it. Like, are
Right.
you going to hit those targets?
Right. And on top of that too, even though we talk about game budgets like being the way they are today, just remember all the shit that like was just shoveled out there. Like even when we were growing up, it's like now you got those people who missed their ratings target and then they already have to go back and do everything all over again.
Right.
And then Mr. Angry Canadian's taking some shots at you in the chat over here.
Oh, is he? Oh, I didn't even have the chat up. My bad.
He says, you remember playing with the stick and the wheel.
Listen, we were lucky if we had a stick in the wheel. We had to walk to school uphill both ways.
Yeah, you had to share the stick because the other kids had cholera and would forget to bring the wheel. Yeah, Halo should never have gotten an M rating, he says. Yeah, I can understand that.
Close enough so they can assemble submission materials that include a video tape of all of the most extreme content in a game, as well as the context, the storyline, the characters, the setup, any introductory sequences, anything that would give us an indication as to the content elements in the game and the age appropriateness. We have a very thorough written submission form that every publisher has to fill out and
Really?
write what is actually in the game, what's depicted, what's said, any dialogue, any depiction whatsoever that.
Oh my God, could you imagine? Like they have to add in like the new stuff, like just like the weird stuff. What simulated sex with a purple dildo? It's like you gotta write that out.
And I mean, the crappy thing is like there's real consequences for like getting this wrong.
Yeah.
And right, you probably like aren't like looking to like like game system or anything else like that. Like if there's like something that gets left out, it's probably like done by like an honest mistake. But it's a mistake, then we have to go back and then you potentially get fined over it and have to redo submissions, all that
Right.
stuff. Like you could start to see where like some of these bloated game budgets, there's probably, I imagine, like almost like a legal or compliance team that's like doing this. And when you're a big company like that, you probably have to spend a lot of time and money on just people to make sure that you get this stuff right.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I went to school to be, an accountant, and now I gotta write out this form talking about you beat people with like giant dildos. Just
right.
Just what have I done with my life? I think maybe after this, I'll try to bring up this ratings thing, maybe to on current day as well, so we can kind of read some of the stuff on here because I think it stops at I think this entertainment. I don't know what this word's supposed to be over here.
I think that is edutainment. So like
Edutainment?
the supposed to be like the educational games.
Yeah, but that's weird to see that even there. It's like a written thing. Is it edutainment? I've never thought that I would see this on a forum. That's wild. Everything else seems to be right in line. Alcohol reference, animated blood and gore. What's the difference between why they got animated blood, cartoon, or pixelated depictions of blood, and then depictions of blood, or the mutilation of the body parts? So
I guess probably because at that time, like not everything was guaranteed to be animated. So like if you had like a bloody background, right, with just like blood stains and stuff like that, that's probably where your blood is. But then like if you've got like blood dripping down the wall, because that's that really ratchets us up a lot.
Yeah.
Or, are there some chunks in that blood? Then you get to the blood and gore.
I feel like
So-
blood and gore should just be a thing. This just feels like fucking redundant words. They're getting paid by
But-
the hour to make this up. It feels like,
There's probably is like some sort of like method to the madness here because like, I guess like context is going to be like hard to convey through these forms. So you like got some like poor guy and they're filling this out like, okay, well, I've got a scene and yeah, the guy like cuts his finger and so we've got like blood and animated blood, but it's really just like in terms of a paper cut type of thing in comparison to like cutting their head off. But like you'd have to be able to describe this and try to take that idea and try to give that context to why that may not be as bad, like through paperwork.
I get what you're saying, but for me, when I look at this, it's like you get paid by the hour. That's what this
Sure.
reminds me of.
I mean, let's face it. I'm a compliance guy. This is what I do. I'm not going to say it's bad money.
So it was a good thing I had you here too, so you could go like, I do this for a living. Of course I want to get paid by the hour.
Right.
But yeah, AC brings up a funny part. Imagine a person reading the love scene between the teacher and the MC in Persona 5.
I know.
So funny.
I mean, you think about that because, like, I think I've seen like some memes coming out about that. It's just like, yeah, it's kind of fucked up. You got like this student romancing the teacher.
Yeah. Well, like,
and you're playing the game. It seems, oh yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, that was made in
Wait a minute.
2015 too. So there you go. It's so wild to think it's like the first villain you take down is a pedophilic teacher, and then it's like, oh wait a minute, you can romance your other teacher.
Right. The other one, she's a lady. It's fine.
It is literally the trope of like, male teacher, female student bad, female teacher who's hot, male student nice.
Angry Canadian says, let a man dream bliss. Listen, you know who I romanced? The teacher. You got to. That was like the dream as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So I actually went to high school with a teacher that actually got involved with a student like that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And I actually had that teacher as my teacher. And I don't know.
Hold on. You talk about that, and then your next sentence out of your mouth is, I actually had that teacher.
Yes, I did. I remember her name. Her name was Amber Kraus. You can look this up because it's all public, obviously.
Yeah.
But she was my chemistry teacher. And this bitch was like a solid like 6 on a good day. All right.
Oof.
So like that's why it caught me so off guard when I was just like reading the paper one day, and it was like Grant Community High School teacher. Kind of doxing myself a little bit here, but I don't go to high school anymore, so who gives a shit? But there was like got caught doing some like in a relationship with a student. I was like, oh. And I'm thinking, I was like, oh, I wonder who it was. There's like, some teachers I won't name, but they were like, oh, she was kind of a cutie and she was kind of younger, so maybe it was her. I could see that because, there was a couple teachers that we would all flirt with. Obviously
Sure.
when you're like a 17, 18-year-old guy. And when I get down to this one, I'm like, Kraus? Really? Her? I was like, oh. Well, it's like kind of funny. It's like, yeah, I can honestly say it's like I know a teacher that I actually was a student of that got involved with that. Reading the paper at 16 based. What are you talking about? I was way out of high school when this happened. But
Listen, back in my day, that's all we had were papers.
Yes, the National Geographic was all we had some days to get our imaginations flowing.
But I imagine like a lot of people had like similar things because I can remember like we had a math teacher. It's kind of like the younger teacher that was like more like just out of college.
Yeah.
And I remember like one day she's like talking to me and she's like, oh yeah, so are you going to the dance? So I like leaned over to my friend Pat and I was like, Pat, I think she's asking me to the dance. Just kind of joking. But yeah, I think that you always had that kind of thing. And then, so yeah, once you get to Persona, when that teacher's there, it's like, oh my.
Yeah, you know what I remember? I don't know if you remember this controversy, but because we're all relatively older now and Persona is like a high school setting, there are like people who are like, "Bro, you're a pedophile if you date one of the high school girls." I'm like, "What is going on here?"
What?
I remember these like people. They do exist online, and I'm like, because the internet is so fucked. I don't know if they're trolling or serious. That's the problem. Like I just remember that they're like, how could you date one of the high school girls? You're like a 20-something-year-old man. That's kind of a pedophilic thing. I'm like, what's going on here? It's a video game. I'm like 15 in this video game or something, right?
Right. I mean, you're putting yourself in the thing. Like, listen, I get it. Like, if it was a game and like the whole focus of it is just dating that and like glorifying that, I could see it.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, you need to be able to also take some of the stuff and put it into context.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, the teacher's still a little weird, but still a little hot.
Still kind of
So,
hot.
I'll allow it.
I'm like, the teacher's not even like the worst one. There's actually like an alcoholic, like 30-something-year-old reporter that like date.
Or the doctor, Dr. Death.
Yeah, but she's hot. All right, so that's what I mean. You get a pass over there. But the other one is like, dude, she's like a wine ant. You can date a wine ant that takes you to like, cross-dressing bars. It's like Persona 5 is kind of fucked when you really think about it.
Hey, you know what though? She's down on her luck like that. She's gonna treat you nice.
Yeah,
she's gonna treat you nice, Carl.
Exactly.
I'm down with it.
She's my sugar mom. All right. That's what you do. She's the type of she's like the everyone had that like one friend that had like the shitty mom. Like she's the one that let you come over to drink at her house, What? It's okay. Just as long as like they're not out, right? They're here. They're safe.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Until she like starts like, sitting by you on the couch, put her hand on your knee.
Oh yeah.
And there you go.
Luckily, never had one of those moments because that would have been awkward. But I did have my friend tell us that his mom had like fake tits one time, and we were like confused. Why he would divulge this information? Divulge, right? That's the word. Divulge this information to us.
Yep.
It was like the weirdest thing in the world, Because I just remember one time we were just like sitting around at his house. Obviously, we were drinking because this was also the bad parents' house, so that's why this is more relevant. But he was just like, "Yeah, my mom has fake tits," and we're just like, "What? Why would you say that?"
Oh, yeah. Proud of his mom.
I guess so. That's a whole new type of son love there that only the Lannisters could appreciate.
I mean, I guess, like, what else are you gonna do?
I would
like, everyone else can see him.
I would never divulge that. All right, especially at like 15. You know better.
I mean, listen, at 15, you probably know. It's just like, hey, a couple of years ago, your mom was pretty flat, and now she's pretty stacked. What happened?
You don't say anything. You deny like you're a government employee. Deny, deny, deny.
I think your mom went through puberty.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't want to know. All right, so let's get back to this after that.
Yeah, let's get back to this after the talking about children and teachers thing that's gonna get us canceled.
Oh yeah, a massive epic side quest right there.
Would be relevant in terms of the content rating.
And a ratings board, 3 people, will then view this tape, read the documentation that goes along with it, but they don't play the game necessarily.
Within a week, have independent raters come in, look at the video, and based on the consensus,
will decide on what the rating of this game should be.
We apply a rating along with content descriptors, and the publisher gets their rating certificate. It usually takes about 5 to 7 business days.
The key to a good rating system is a diverse collection of people rating the games.
Our rating system was fundamentally premised on having ordinary Americans.
It's woke. I knew it.
Come in and rate games. Don't have to be a gamer. Male, female, cultural backgrounds have to be diverse, marital status. It would be helpful. And in fact, we look for raters who have had some kind of exposure to kids.
What?
Oh, I thought they were going to say it would be helpful if they're unmarried. We'd like them to work a lot more.
I thought they were going to say if they played video games.
Cultural backgrounds, their own tastes, what is appropriate for which ages, and which content needs to be called out to a consumer on a box or in an ad. So it's American public opinion. It's not the industry's opinion.
But has the ESRB gone far enough?
I think it does a good job. I think it could do a better job on certain things.
Like what?
It's time for a PG-13 type of rating in the gaming world.
Oh, what a forward thinking.
Oh, wow. Calm down there, sir. Getting a little spicy there.
Yeah, let's have year by year.
With a self...
What do you say wow to, AC?
He's just blown away by that guy's forward thinking.
Yeah. Of all the other crazy shit we talked about, he's like, yeah, that's totally normal. But now, America.
There are like valid criticisms that we can make on this, but this guy's like, yeah, I'm coming in hot. They need a PG-13, like the movies.
Gotta make it like the movies, right? American public opinion, not industry. Boy, have times changed.
Regulated rating system in place, some developers feel free to push the boundaries. In 1996, Harvester is released by Merit Studios. The company claims it is the most...
You ever play this game?
I have not played it. I've seen it played a lot. So
I've heard about it. Sorry, I cut you off.
You know, if you haven't watched, or if you haven't played it, definitely watch it. It is wild.
I'll have to look it up because I think I heard about this game, but I definitely don't remember anything about it. There is another video I think we can watch at a later date, Bliss, if you want to come back, where it's like the most controversial games of all time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, because Harvester's got to be on there.
I think that's what I heard about it was from this Harvesters.
Yeah, I mean, like, one of the guys is like a soldier that was like sawed in half. he's like basically perched upon like the nuclear bomb button to blow everything up.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
it's hilarious. It's very funny. It's got a wacky cutscene, and like the parents watch the young adults, I guess I should say, get it on through the peephole. Wild.
So like Marvin Gaye and Get It On. Got it. All right, let's keep going.
Most violent video game ever released. But not all game publishers are interested in pushing the envelope. Electronic Arts decides not to release an...
What a shocking statement! Electronic Arts not willing to push the envelope?
Yeah. I've got some comments, but I'll save that for the future-looking thing, because there's definite bullshittery going on when it comes to the ESA, ESRB, and Electronic Arts.
That is the funniest thing right there. Someone needs to clip this, and we gotta make this as short. Some people are not willing to push the envelope, like EA. Oh my god, that is such a fucking great statement.
Although there was a time where like EA was like, you're excited when you got a game with EA on it, but
right?
Man, oh man.
That just made me laugh my ass off. They're not willing to push the envelope like EA.
Nope.
Have you played Madden? We don't even do anything in that. Oh, sorry, that just made me laugh too hard. Let's continue.
Ultra-violent fighting game called Thrill Kill. But the ESRB isn't enough for some. In June of 1999, Senators John McCain and Joe Lieberman passed the Meat...
John McCain! John McCain! May he rot in hell. Sorry, I had to say that. Oh,
some more like both sides of the aisle action.
Finally, we got our first Republican. The good old McCain finally coming in here.
Media Violence Labeling Act.
We had two different violence descriptors, mild violence and violence. We felt that consumers could use a little bit more nuance, a little bit more information in terms of what kind of violence.
The new act calls for more detailed descriptions in the ratings, unlike the MPAA system for films.
The video game ratings are quite different in some key respects from the movie ratings. First of all, video games are a different medium. A video game is interactive, a film is passive.
No shit. Thank you. I would never have figured that out, Mr. Colin Farrell from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Video games, as realistic as they're getting, are still predominantly animation. Realistic looking, yet quite different visually than a film. So the whole experience is different, and we felt from the very beginning that we couldn't simply graft on the motion picture rating system.
But even with the new additions, there is still room for improvement in the ESRB system.
Now, what I think would be a perfect thing for the ESRB to do, and one thing that I've sort of advocated in my column, is that it's time for a PG-13 type of rating in the gaming world.
My God,
We've
guy.
got E equals G, T equals PG, and M equals R. That's fine, that helps to a point. But if you have something that's sort of a middle ground between T and M, then you can have these games that sort of walk the line between the two and still have the M rating carry a little bit more weight.
And the ESRB
All right, hold
continues
on.
to evolve.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
Going back to your comment, Carl, like, I wonder if this guy goes back and looks at this, like, if I'm him, I am absolutely embarrassed. I would absolutely be embarrassed about going so hard on the PG-13.
It's so fucking weird to think. It's like, oh, we need like a PG-13 because the teen rating doesn't seem to make sense for what I want to talk about, which is 13-year-olds. It's almost like they're teenagers or something, but not. So we need something else. Like, what the fuck do you want? Like, what are you talking about? It's T for teen, and you're like, we need PG-13. I'm like, we already have that. It's like, what? This guy's name was like what? Colin Morris, right? I think it was.
Yeah, we should go back. I want to see if I can find him.
Yeah.
What's this guy doing now?
Let's find out what he's doing right now. Yeah, Chris Morris.
Chris Morris.
It's close. So his name. CNN Money, columnist of Game Over was his profession. So I'm going to play this while you get.
One thing that I've sort of advocated in my column is that it's time for a PG-13 type of rating in the gaming world. You know, we've got E equals G, T equals PG, and M equals R. That's fine, that helps to a point. But if you have something that's sort of a middle ground between T and M, then you can have these games that sort of walk the line between the two and still have the M rating carry a little bit more weight.
And the ESRB continues to evolve.
In 2003, the ESRB conducted an extensive review of the rating system. We talked to child development experts.
Can I say, did you notice that her mouth doesn't move properly?
Yeah, it's like very stiff.
It's like very weird. I don't know how she talks.
We talked to consumer advocacy groups. We talked to
like look at that. Her lip like moves unnaturally right there.
It's almost like her whole mouth should be moving, but like the top part of her mouth does not move.
Like, I don't know how that is. This wasn't Botox. I don't know.
You know what it is? She's doing a little bit of like Vaseline on those top teeth. That would have fixed that problem right up.
I think she has Bell palsy. That's what I believe.
Could be. I do have Chris Morris here too.
All right, let's hear about Chris Morris, our best friend.
All right. Chris Morris, journalist. He looks pretty much the same.
Oh, okay.
You believe that? So he is known for his expertise in video game writing. He is a veteran financial journalist with over 30 years experience, 20 of those spent on internet's biggest sites. He's worked for CNNmoney.com, also Yahoo Finance.
Oh, wow.
So, my goodness, I'm guessing, the game stuff really didn't work out, so he went into the financial reporting.
Well,
Good for you, buddy.
It said here he worked for CNN Money, so I feel like he was just like a finance bro who just really loved video games. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah. GameSpot.com is referred to him as one of the most game-savvy reporters in the mainstream media. And his work is regularly cited by many video game outlets. So, you know what? I haven't heard of him before this, but hey, good on you for covering games in the early days.
I'll say this. CNN has definitely lost credibility since he's left. So he was single-handedly keeping CNN alive with his video game talk and his money talk, and now it's gone.
Right. You know what? If he only could have pushed that 13-year-old agenda at CNN, to give us more ratings.
Like here we're finding out right now too. He would have beat woke if we would have added a PG-13 rating system. We would have saved this gaming industry.
Think of the kids. We wouldn't have kids like diddling each other and dressed up in like mascot costumes.
Exactly. We could have stopped the furries. We fucked
Could have
up.
stopped the furries.
We could have. We could have had a F for furry rating, and parents would never have bought Star Fox Adventure.
Yeah. Like, we have the violence thing. Why don't we have like cartoon or mascot sexuality?
Yes. I blame Cher. I blame her. It's all her fault.
Members of the academic community. We talked to consumers. We talked to as many people as we could to understand how successful the rating system is.
I want to go back one frame here.
We talked to consumers. We talked to as many people
You
as
just
we
want to
could.
look at that mouth
Shout
a little
out
bit more.
Quidditch World Cup.
Oh my God, good eyes.
You got to play this game over here. We got Deus Ex, what Invisible War right down here.
Yep, the sequel, which was kind of awful.
I think these are all PC games. These are actual physical box PC games, I think.
Listen, I mean, calling that Deus Ex sequel a PC game, that's kind of picking at a wound there, Carl. How dare you, sir?
I can't help it. This is history we're looking at. Need for Speed Underground, But
yeah, hey,
God.
I remember when you actually got a nice big box. Let's go back to the nice big boxes. Those little boxes.
Yeah, I do. I still got a couple, actually. No,
Man,
I don't. I lied. Well, no, that's not true. I have one, but it was a collector's edition, so it doesn't count.
You get that nice big box, and they stuff it full like an instruction manual. They come with like the ring little binder because it was so complicated.
Right.
The cloth map. Take me back to those days.
Yeah. Now, but I just wanted to say, I always recommend this as the superior Quidditch game. Obviously, one of my favorite games of all time, a hidden gem. Everyone should check it out. Just wanted to give that over there real quick. Also, I'm going to have to run to the bathroom real quick, so I'm going to put this on BRB mode, and give us like 5 minutes, everyone. Under 5 minutes. All right, and we're back. Sorry about that.
No worries. Although I will have to point out that it's not the old fogey that Bladder went out first, Carl.
I will
Went to the old
counter.
dudes.
I will counter by this and say I've been drinking a gallon of water every day now to try to hydrate better, and I'm just like, oh my god. So I'll spare everyone else the details, but yeah, drinking a gallon of water does clear out your body.
Good to understand how successful the rating system is and where are the areas that we could make improvements. We introduced a number of significant changes to the rating system.
By 2003, a new set of improvements to the rating system is announced. Boxes get bolder labels reflecting their ratings, descriptions of game content become more precise, and distinctions between different types of violence are used.
First was we wanted to make sure that the mature rating symbol was clear in terms of its age appropriateness. So we added 17 plus to the actual rating symbol.
Wow.
So if a consumer picks up a box, they don't have to guess what the age range is for a mature rating. Second change we made was we wanted to make sure that consumers didn't miss the content descriptors on the back of every package. Short phrases that describe the content in the game. Critical piece of the rating system.
And the game developers themselves are kept informed of ratings guidelines.
All those guidelines are really, really good for our industry, because they make it clear what really is an E-game. What is a T-game?
Clinton Portis.
And what is an M-game?
The same clip from Grand Theft Auto all the time.
I applaud the ESRB for enforcing these uniformly.
In 2003, the IDSA undergoes a transformation of its own, changing its name to the ESA.
ESA is for Entertainment Software Association, and it's made up of the top publishers that are based here in the U.S.
Didn't they make? Didn't they run E3?
I think that's somewhere different, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Like the ESA is like the lobbyist. I don't know if they ran E3.
Yeah, who ran E3? Just for clarification. As we look at some of the most mid-looking booth babes out there.
Actually, it was. Yeah, ESA.
Yes. No kidding. I can't believe I remembered that.
The thing that they're probably most known for is owning and running the E3 trade.
Ah, fucking knew it! Look at that. That's funny.
They're an important group. They're responsible for the ESRB. They also have a lot to do with talking to politicians in Washington who, may or may not understand video games.
It's so ironic because this is E3 week, and I did not expect this to kind of pop up. It's just so funny that this is all sort of connected and how much like we're learning today about all this stuff that comes together just so perfectly. Like I said.
Yep.
Because I'm doing a show on Saturday with Jason and Cream NATO about E3 memories, and then it's like look at this. I did not expect this to pop up at all. Wow, wild.
It's a voluntary system. It's up to a publisher if they want to submit a product to us to be rated.
It's self-regulating. I think it's very, very important.
The reality is that it's been a universally adopted system and that the publishers have all really responded in wanting to provide this objective, independent information on the front and back of every game box and also in all of their advertising.
With the ESRB rating system in place, Senator Lieberman, one of gaming's most vocal critics, has applauded the industry's proactiveness.
This video game rating system is the most comprehensive and informative rating system of any entertainment medium anywhere.
The rating system
he's complimenting it because this is the result of his work. So he's self-congratulating.
Entertainment industries.
Come on.
So it was critical that people didn't miss it.
DOA Beach Volleyball. Appreciate it. Appreciate glory days.
And it's so ridiculous that they won't let that come out here.
Yeah, well, I got them. I got it just from Japan. No, Play Asia. I gotta sit down
Yes.
and play that with my wife, so I can find out which women she finds intimidating.
Yeah, I got it, and then I have the problem where like all the DLC, you have to
Gotta
like
make
buy
an
that as
Asian
well, but you
account.
can't buy that. Yeah, and I was like, ah, crap. I'm old. I don't want to do that.
We began
Right.
sort of in a crisis, in a reactive way as a trade association, responding to this sort of congressional criticism. And in a very perverse way, it did us a favor, because it allowed the industry to come together as it never had before. Very competitive companies uniting together around common causes.
I'm very focused right now on making sure that consumers are aware of the rating system and using it.
And I've even seen some ads.
Did we even get that woman's name?
I don't think so, but I think she's the head of the ESRB, isn't she?
We'll look her up in a second because I completely was enamored by her like Bell's palsy syndrome that she had there. That I was not paying attention to her.
Trailers before movies.
Now, I love sports.
I love sports.
But you gotta play
I
the game
remember
that's
this
right for you.
commercial. Do you?
Same with computer and video games.
Yes.
ESRB is very, very important for our industry because
Parents have to make sure each
Game is right for their kids.
parents need to know what
Because I think it was pre-drama Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, ah, yes, pre-Perkins waitress, fucking Tiger Woods.
they're buying for their children.
How?
Check the rating.
Check the rating.
The industry still has a ways to go to catch up to the movie ratings. We've been around for 10 years. The movie ratings have been around for 35, 40 years.
Every game box has a rating symbol that suggests what age the game is best for,
It's critical that consumers are aware of the rating system
and a content label that tells you what's in the game.
and use it appropriately.
When you check the rating,
All right, we gotta explain this one to angry Canadian now. So, Tiger Woods was notorious for having affairs with restaurant waitresses, and one of the jokes was he would go to Perkins, which is a restaurant, and they would fuck the Perkins waitresses.
Right. Because like before that happened, like he was like always like the goody two shoes, the perfect image.
Yeah.
And then he had that super hot wife. What was her name?
Oh, I'm
It was
thinking
like E something.
she was like very Swedish.
Yes, very Swedish.
Yes, and like she was actually from like a well-to-do family too. I know it's not Giselle. That's who I keep thinking of. That was Tom Brady's ex-wife. But
Elin
Elin.
Nordegren? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Nordegren.
Yeah, like I said, Swedish, very Swedish.
Yep.
Canadians like base gave them the extra tip.
you know what to expect.
The system works and gets the job done, but there's always room for improvement.
I mean, I'm critical of them, and I think that there are certain things that they can do better. Given
I was
short
like, we
amount of
just
time
heard
that
him
they've
say
been
this,
in
right?
existence, I think they've done a very
PG-13?
good job
Yeah.
getting what the ratings mean out. I think it's made developers a lot more aware of what they put in games right now. They can still push the envelope, but at the same time, they know that someone's
was
keeping
great.
an eye on them. They know that if they go too far, there is a regulating body that's going to say, hold it.
Bro, that guy sucks at playing
That's
GTA.
a little bit too much.
See? You gotta play the game that's right for you.
Phone, 1.2 megapixel camera and holds 5,000 MP3s.
No way.
Wow, that's
5,000 MP3s.
Ooh. Hold on a second, sorry. Hello? Yeah, hey, I'm in the middle of lunch. Can I
Is
call you
that
back?
Attack of the
Alright,
Show,
cool.
right? That guy?
So that's a lot of MP3s.
I wouldn't know.
See the best, greatest, biggest, shiniest,
I was
coolest,
just
and
in awe of
blinkiest
that
new
old
stuff
brick
coming
phone.
next year when the Screensavers goes live at the Consumer Electronics Show. Coming up next.
Hold on, let me put you on speakerphone.
Oh my God, that is that's some memories right there. That's for sure. We should look up that woman's name real quick. Let's see if we can find that here.
Make it because
Where is this?
Well, the head of the ESRB is Patricia Vance.
I don't think that was Patricia Vance though.
No, because
Oh,
I
wait,
think
no, wait,
that woman
actually,
had like
you're right. That her name was Vance.
Was it?
I believe it was Vance. Now that you say it, because I wanted to make a JD Vance joke. Let's look this up here. It's got to pop up somewhere, right?
She's been president of the ESRB since 2002, so the timeline's right. She's got red hair.
Wait.
Yep, Patricia Vance. You passed it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that's what it said. Where the fuck did it go? How did I fuck this up every time? Oh, here we go. Come on, show us her name, you silly goose.
You had it. Like, her name did flash for like a second.
I
when saw
know.
the
That's why I'm
Patricia.
so fucking pissed off right now. I've never fucking tried this hard to find such a mediocre woman's name in my life. Yeah, Patricia Vance. It is. It is her. Wow.
Although it looks like she has brown eyes there, doesn't it?
Kinda. Wait. Well, she could have contacts in. Wow. No kidding. So she's still the head of the ESRA or ESRB?
Yeah.
That's so wild. Absolutely wild. All right, I can close this off now. Here we go. Exit out Streamlabs and should be good here. All right, cool. Wow. That's interesting. So really, so she's been in charge of since 2002?
Yep, 2002 she became president.
23 years.
ESRB.
That's insane. Wow. I did not realize that this was like some of these people were still around. Mr. Cage said her eyes
Well,
look
probably
red.
like once you get a job like that, all you're doing is looking at video games all day.
Sign me up. I want in.
Not a whole lot of turnover.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't have to do any real work. Wow. Count me in. So yeah, you said you had some more thoughts that you wanted to add on to this there, Bliss?
Yeah, so like I said before, like when I was a kid, hearing about all this, and they might take away video games and having the ESRB and the rating system, like all of this just seemed like it sucked. But
right.
Like for what we got, it's not that bad, right? Like we could have lost some rights, we still kept our rights. Now you've got the industry kind of policing itself.
Right.
The problem that I think that you get is like now as I'm older, like I get more of like why it's important for parents to know what's going on in these games, because let's face it, you don't have time to like go through and see like what all of the content is in these things.
Yeah.
But the bad part about this is like you've got things like loot boxes, right?
Right.
And they are still run by the ESA, which is like a video game lobbyist. And so when the topic of loot boxes came up, they're like, well, we don't want to disclose that they're on there, so we don't have its own disclosures. We just disclose that it's an in-game purchase, because we found that parents really don't know what the word loot boxes meant, so putting it on there it wouldn't really mean anything to them. It's just like, wait a minute. You'll put on there like cartoon violence and things like that and put it in definitions, but you won't like put on something like there's a clear difference between like DLC that's an in-game purchase and like monetized game mechanics.
Right.
And they can't come up with either some sort of like descriptor or anything else to describe that. No, because the game industry knows that loot boxes is a hot button issue. It comes with some things where there's been regulation on it, and they refuse to then put it on there. They won't disclose that a game has those. So there is some like definite like conflicts of interest that they have there. I mean, all in all, like I think it's fine. They do get some things wrong. Like there's been various scandals over the years, like the hot coffee. It's kind of dumb that okay, you couldn't play Grand Theft Auto and see that content. You actually had to mod it, but then they had to change the rating that was on the stores because someone could go and mod the game.
Yeah.
Same thing with Oblivion. Oblivion had to change its rating because there were nude bots that people could download, even though you couldn't play the stock game. So it wasn't being sold as that, but they, made them change the rating. I think Canadian mentioned like Halo, things like that. So there's definitely some like problems still, I think, with it. But overall, like I think with what could have happened, we're on the decent timeline.
Well, when you see, they also ran into that problem well before loot boxes. Think about it with online gaming, how now they basically say rating may change online,
Right.
Like, because we've all seen the memes of people like who would play Club Penguin and have their name like Aryan Master Hitler 420 says commit
Right.
crimes or something. It's like we all know that like even though they've kind of tried to tamp down even on the online fun, like they kind of also had to face that already with parents trying to like let their kids play online games,
Yeah, and I think some of that too is just like, I think as we get older and we become parents, we'll probably have a little bit more of an idea like that stuff can happen.
Yeah.
Where
I
parents back then probably didn't know that, like, hey, if they're getting online, then all of a sudden there might be all these, predators and stuff online, or people memeing.
I feel like we have this joke, like we kind of just talked about this earlier, but like, our parents grew up like with the like weirdo neighbor that would molest kids, and their parents would be like, "Yeah, just don't go next door to see Mr. John or anything," Like, like that was like the old joke from like the Greatest Generation raising the boomers. It's like, yeah, just don't go hang out with Mr. Crabtree down the street. He's kind of weird, but and like they just didn't do anything about it. And it's like it feels like for our generation, it's like the boomers still don't know how to work technology, and like, I'm over here watching like ISIS beheading videos and like the song about bukkake in like middle school, and like my parents have no idea what the fuck any of this stuff is or how to like access it, and it's like,
ISIS beheading videos. I didn't know what you watched, Hassan. Ew.
Nah, but like even then, like some of our parents knew. It's just they had to get it through VHS, like the infamous Faces of Death, which that was like the thing before the internet, which was that was passed around a lot with our parents. Even my mom knew about it. I was like, damn, Mom. No wonder I'm so fucked up.
Did you go through driver's ed? Did you have like the driver's ed video?
So we did not have the violent, gory one. I think like you had. We had the guy who got drunk and like he's like, no, I talk like this and it's very bad and you gotta take driving serious. Like we had that guy who got a brain injury, so now he kind of talks retarded.
Gotcha.
But he was like doing good because he worked at like the San Jose Shark Stadium, so we felt better for him.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, no, we had the video because like, it had like the car crashes and things like that, and it showed all of the after effects and the gore from that. And then at the end, they just tossed in some like the guy who got a concrete wall fell on him.
Oh fuck!
It's like here's a little bonus for you kids. Here's some guy just got smashed by a concrete wall just for fun. It's got pancaked.
Oh
on the hook.
Oh man, that's terrible. No, I think for us it was sex ed when they were showing us all the like the STDs. I think
yeah.
That was the fun day in school. We were learning all the fun words to call each other.
So is that just like show and tell with that one teacher? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, but with a lot of like warts.
Time to drop her drawers.
Yeah, no, like I had this one guy as my driver's ed teacher. I forget his name, but that guy was weird. I'm convinced, like, because I don't know how it was for you, because in Illinois, driver's ed is worth nothing, and it's like mandatory, like to go through, and you have to mandatory pass in order to get your permit. Blah blah blah, bullshit. but he was like only there to teach driver's ed. This guy, like, he taught no other class, and the other driver's ed teacher was a gym teacher.
Of course.
And everyone that had the gym teacher passed because he just is like, it's driving. The real part about driving is mostly driving. So he was like a hard ass about like if you actually did the test driving with him, versus this guy, like, I'm convinced like he just had like a power trip because everyone probably been like, what do you do here? Like, what is your job exactly, you know? So I think he was like more up everyone's ass about trying to pass driver's ed because he was like, oh yeah, you know, you gotta do this thing. Fucking weird. He was just fucking weird. And I had to miss like a week of my class because we went on vacation as a family. And then I came back, and you have to make up classes in driver's ed here. And I was failing because I didn't really give a shit about this thing. And I was just like, so I asked him, I was like, look, I got a week left here. Is there a way I can raise my grade and like do some stuff just to like pass, and then I can start to take my learner's permit? And he looked at me and he said, no. And I'm like, no. And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay. So why would I even bother then trying to make up those that week then? Could you explain that to me?
Right.
You know? And he just like he just like looked confused, like nobody ever asked him that question in his life. You know?
Yeah. Listen, Carl, this is all this guy has, all right?
Exactly. It's like, shouldn't you want to work with me when I said I got a week to make it up?
No, all he wants to do is step on his little extra brake.
Yeah, exactly.
Did they have that? The car with like the extra brake pedal they'd install on there?
I mean, maybe I never got to do my permit testing and stuff like that until after high school.
Oh God.
Yeah. So I think I had 1 week of driving experience, and then I took my driver's test and passed. So there you go. But like, they just took me.
She got through the thing.
Yeah, they just took me on like one drive through. Like my stepdad, because he's a trucker, so he just made me drive around Illinois for like I think like a total of like 1 day, and then they took me to get my driver's license after I got like just barely through. But that's nothing to do with here nor there. But yeah, no, it's kind of interesting to see just how far like the rating system and everything has come. Especially because, like you see it now, I think Canadian and other people brought it up too. Why localization changes and stuff happen too is also to do with like what kind of rating you're going to get in the USA and other countries as well.
Well, and I think too, like the ESRB, they're like marketing out their tools.
Right.
So it's interesting because like with the change to like digital releases, you have a lot more companies that could go through the system, and obviously the old way of doing it, of submitting a tape and getting a full retail review, is just too cumbersome. So they've like drastically reduced the fee to do that. So a lot more like indie games would have the accessibility to do that. But it's also had them like change the way that they do the reviews to where now it's more like answering questions, and then their system will spit out a rating review, and then they'll kind of like audit, have controls in place to make sure that their reviews are coming out the way they would do it as if like someone actually reviewed it.
Right.
So, and that they are sharing those tools out to the other rating agencies too, and so that it makes it easier for more games to be rated. It's kind of interesting.
That is very interesting. It's so wild to see just how far, like even to this day, they didn't even touch on like the secondary controversy with like Doom. Obviously Columbine, the shooters were like notorious in their videos and stuff like that, with like making Doom references, especially with their guns as well.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of like the happy feel good old corporate video.
Yeah.
For the ESRB. Because like, when you were looking at the time, like the hearings were not like a pleasant thing to go through. And like I've kind of said it before, but like the video game companies were at each other's throats.
Right.
And this, makes it seem like, oh, they all came together. Well, they all came together in a way, but like they were at each other's throats, throwing each other underneath the bus. Like, oh, how could Sega allow this to happen? Or Sega's like, Nintendo, they didn't even have their own rating system before like we did. And it was just kind of chaotic because you didn't know where this was going to land. You didn't know like what was going to happen and what the changes were going to be from this, because like the way that some people were talking, there was a panic, and it was like video games were like going to turn every child into a mass murderer, which obviously is not true, but there were people that honestly believe that and were looking to stop this. So
Still to this day, it's that they believed it. They still do, a lot of them.
yeah. So I guess the more things change, the more things stay the same. But
Yeah.
it was just like a really kind of wild time, and when you're that young, you don't really realize like how much was really at stake, because one thing I always say is like once you give up your rights, it's very near
Hard to
impossible to
earn
get them back.
Yeah, well, it's like the
Yeah.
same thing that you saw with like the porn industry and everything else like that too. Like there is always going to be that thing where society will eventually push something. Like we've seen it before, not to get like all hyper political with some people here, but it's just like with like prohibition, suffrage movements, obviously Roe v. Wade, and all these other things that came out in American history. Video games are just like one of those social issues that like kind of was like morphing from like the movie industry, the music industry, like especially during this like late 70s, early 90s timeline to even early 2000s. Like you can make the case from like the Reagan era to like the Bush era in particular, Junior, where it had like all this weird stuff that like just happened with like pop culture that like really changed up and everything too. So
All
like,
right, Angry Canadian says, "Read my chat, damn it."
So he's
There,
like,
are you happy? We did it.
Yeah, I read it. There you go. Now I think he wants to talk about the Halo 2 on Windows Vista got partially nudity rating. Well, yeah. Have you seen Cortana's ballistics? It makes sense.
Yeah.
She had some cannons to help Master Chief
Hey.
fight the Covenant.
That partial nudity sells, man. You got to put that on there.
No. Really, what the partial nudity was you getting ass raped by the Jackal snipers. All right, that's what it was. But they didn't think that it was strong enough sexual content, so they put partial nudity. But yeah, no, it's like the whole thing that we're talking about with video games even more too. It's just like all this stuff around the time. Like you had Postal, that was like a big thing too back in the day, which ironically enough, our friends pissed off their studio at the Melee Games side. On top of that too, I don't know if you remember this game. I can't remember exactly what it was. It might have been early 2000s, but the Aryan Brotherhood actually made a video game to get people up in arms too, called Ethnic Cleansing. Do you remember this?
I don't.
Yeah, so this was like a one of those forgotten pieces of history where people were starting to worry about, like, you could honestly say like this was the internet chat rooms kind of before the internet chat room deal, where it was like they were trying to use this video game to turn people into white supremacists. And it honestly, like, it is so bad in terms of how it's designed. You almost think it was like a LARP to make you like go like, are neo-Nazis just gay and retarded? Because it's like they got like these like very stereotypical Jew people running around that you're just killing, and I'm like, what is going on here? Like this is like a bit in like a Key and Peele skit or something. There's no way this is real. But like, yeah,
yeah. Look at it, stereotypes, chinos and sombreros and ponchos.
Yeah. Like I said, it feels like an edgy teenager made this game, not like serious adults. But life finds a way, man. I tell you what, it's just what's the old saying? Reality stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. It's just like one of those moments in time where it's like, yeah, reality is really stranger than fiction. But it is all about like video games and like the rating system. Obviously, you saw the government intervention here, where they were basically trying to like actually federalize a rating system for the game industry, and now they kind of have become such a big lobby force too, that they basically they're able to get away with some shit. They were under attack and they bought their way in, just like every good multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah. And it's interesting too because like just the way that it's set up, like it's the video game industry is controlling it, right? So you do have like things where like they will aim to shoot for things. But even like in movies, like, you think about like some of your movies that came out, like was it RoboCop one where it was like rated R, but then they wanted to go for like a PG-13.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it ruined the movies. But still, it's not really the rating system that's doing that. It's the fact that the studios are choosing because they want to hit that rating.
They want to make more
it's
money.
more of like a marketing thing rather than like any sort of control, because the rating system doesn't really care what rating you get. It's the publisher's choice in terms of what do they want to shoot for.
And to kind of start to wind this down a little bit, it has absolutely done not a fucking damn thing to stop kids from playing terrible video games. Not a damn thing.
No,
not at all. We all grew up with Grand Theft Auto, the DOAs, and everything else like that. If anything, ironically enough, speaking with all this like this woke movement stuff and that, if anything, you could say that they've actually done a better job enforcing making things more child friendly for actual children than they did in the past. Like like I know people are gonna be like, oh, clutching their pearls. How could you say that? And all you have to say is Rouge the Bat, and then enough said. All right. It's just like, there you go. It's just like we've seen so many people who go like, oh, you gotta stop sexualizing the kids, and then you go like, okay, let's not make Rouge the Bat as much of a hussy, shall we? And then they're like, how dare you?
But you know what? Thinking about it, you know what really would have solved all of this?
Better parenting?
PG-13.
That's a second option.
we missed out.
We missed out because the T for teen rating was too confusing, and I don't think it was broad enough. We should have had something else for that in between for the people who are under 17 and for the people who are 13. We needed something.
And they had the 10 rating, right? So it was like, okay, between 10 and then quote unquote teen.
Yes. That 3-year gap. That 3-year gap really fucking made the difference, let me tell you. It's like, what do you want? Like teen 15? Like what the fuck are you going to do?
Right.
It's like, what?
We made it for mature audiences, but that was good enough, so we added 17 plus. So you knew what was mature.
You know what that is?
Like,
that's a Paul idea. That's what I'm going to say. We're going to put it down as a Paul idea. It's like, I could just imagine Paul being high and trying to tell us, guys, they need something between teen and mature. We need something. Like, what are you talking about? My mouth, my rules, right? Jesus. Oh boy. But yeah, no, this was actually fun. I learned a little bit more here. I'm glad you were able to join me tonight, Bliss. It's fun to have like a solo conversation. I feel like I always get you on with the group, and it's now it's fun just to have you on here one-on-one.
Yeah, come on and be the old man, tell stories from back in the day.
Yeah, well, it does help to actually have somebody on who can contribute to a conversation.
Well, I guess the good thing about getting older is I was there. I lived through it. And my God, my mom always used to watch those Senate hearings, and Jesus Christ, as much as I would rather have switched to cartoons. It came back several years later to it's like, oh, you know what? I actually saw some of this crap.
Well,
Thanks,
her know.
Ma.
Let her know. If she's still
Still
with
would have
us,
preferred to
text her.
watch Bugs Bunny. Yep.
I will say one more thing. I did find it funny that we never saw a picture of John McCain. I just wanted to point that out there too. We saw the other two guys, Herb and Joe, but we never saw John.
Yeah, well, there were so many players that this thing left out.
Yeah, like Tipper Gore. Like we didn't even get a bunch of her. We didn't even get like the whole Nancy Reagan, the Satanic Panic, and everything else like that. I mean, to be fair, it was only a 21-minute long episode. So I think this would be like a good maybe get you back on at a future date where we could sit down and cover like the more hardcore like hitting side of it, like all the like outrage groups and stuff like that, and get more into detail. Like I'll try to find a documentary like that and
Okay.
kind of review that, and we could sit down for like a future episode, maybe on a Saturday, and have more free time to do that because you're right. There's so many players that they kind of left out. Like you said, this was more of the corpo propaganda, I guess you could say.
Right. There's so much drama and stuff going on, and we like kind of glossed over it, but it was still, you know what? It was still great because like even though we got like kind of like the advertisement for the ESRB, like seeing like some of those old like PC games on the shelf or the old like Pac-Man stuff.
Yeah.
The lunchbox.
Yeah, like we didn't even get like into hardcore detail about like those games. Like I said, we'll have to sit down, maybe look at like some of these very controversial games, get more breakdown details about why they were so controversial. Because like you were saying, like Phasmagoria, was it right?
Yeah, Phantasmagoria. 1 and 2.
Phantasmagoria. Where like I'm like I don't really know too much about that, and they briefly mentioned that they basically had like we had a boob touching game and quickly moved on. So it's like these are like some like more things I think we should sit down and try to deep dive on, but just for people to kind of get like an idea of like just what the ESRB is, I should say, and kind of ironically enough, it's a little foreshadowing for my upcoming show this Saturday talking about E3. So it was very interesting to see, at least somewhat of that. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So, Bliss, I'm going to have to start winding this down because I'm going to have to run to go get my Switch 2 pre-order because that comes out at 11:01 Central Time instead of midnight. So I'm going to want
Best of luck.
Well, I already got it pre-ordered, so it's good.
Oh, you just have to go pick it up?
I have to just go pick it up.
Motherfucker. I had my pre-order locked in, right? The day of, and then as soon as I placed the order, like I got an email. It's like, oh, here's your confirmation, and your order's been canceled.
Oh,
fuck you! I think it was Target. It's like fuck you. It's like I finally got one on release day. It's like, no, canceled.
Yeah, I know that they're having some limited pickups, but I know I got one for me and I got one for a friend. So the one for my friend, I'm actually picking his up tonight. And then
oh, nice.
Mine's coming. I hopefully knocking on wood still that from Walmart because it says it hasn't shipped yet. So I keep getting worried, but it says it's still good. I keep checking every like hour just to make sure it's not canceled. I'm so paranoid.
Well, I know the feeling.
But I should go back to say, Bliss, what is coming up with the company boys for this week, sir?
Let's see. Saturday we might be diving more into Elden Ring Night Rain. And then Sunday, we're gonna have a little special with a little certain somebody.
Yes, I'm very excited. We're gonna be watching the Xbox showcase with the company boys this Sunday.
And then after, maybe we can do a little Void Crew.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
So, but yeah, excited for that. Not sure what's going to be coming out because I'm not really plugged in as I used to be, but it should be fun.
Right on, right on. As for everyone else here, thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to start winding down, but we will be back on Friday watching another episode of Icons with Shaka Zulu, and that's going to be covering Insomniac Games. We'll find out about their early days in their studios, and I believe this is way before pretty much everything else they released. So this is going to be focusing mostly on the Ratchet and Clank and probably Spyro years. So we're looking forward to talking about how they've done since then. We'll figure out how far it goes in the little video as we watched before. And on top of that too, this Saturday as well, I will be hosting a E3 memory thing, launching a new show called Toxic Nostalgia. And I will be joined by, of course, the aforementioned Mr. Cream NATO and, of course, Mr. Jason Tongate. And we're going to be talking about our favorite memories of E3, kind of having more fun, casual, not really in-depth or anything like that, just good old memories and stuff like that. And then, of course, as Bliss said, stop on by the Company Boys channel on Sunday afternoon. I believe we'll meet up at 11 our time and kind of get everything all sorted for the Xbox showcase as we talk about all the video game stuff that's coming. If you didn't watch the PlayStation 1 earlier today, I would suggest go watching that. I gave it a B-. I know a lot of people online have been upset. Bliss, did you watch any of that?
No, I have not watched any of it yet. All I know is that Neo 3 was announced, so I've got a raging erection.
Yeah, so I would recommend go checking that out then, probably when you get done, so you can get some conversation ready for Saturday as well, because there's a lot that's going to happen, that's for sure.
Nice. All right, I got to ask about your show, though. Are you going to have like a little section dedicated to the booth babes?
Do you know what? I think I'm going to try to find a X-Play segment about E3 that I remember as a kid, and it was about like people who go to E3 and go to all the booths to just collect swag. Like they had had like a really funny bit about like how swag turns people into Neanderthals, and they had like a big fight over like this shitty trinket or something that they were giving out.
I remember, yeah.
So like I feel like that's something I want to bring up. It's just like all the good memories around it. I mean, obviously we could talk about like the bad moments, the iconic moments, what we remember, like what really stands out, and see what Jason and Cream have, like what their memories are about too, because it's going to be interesting because this is basically still E3 week. I still call this E3 week, even though E3 is not here.
No longer with us.
No longer with us, but we still get basically like the same type of showcases. We still get a Sony showcase. We still get a Nintendo showcase. We still get like third parties, and then we get the Xbox. So it's still in here in spirit. It's E3 without the name,
Without the convention center.
Yeah, it's like, how can I say this? Like it's still the Sears Tower, and they're still the Washington Redskins to me. It's still E3,
There you go.
So, with that being said, everyone, have yourself a wonderful Wednesday night. For everyone who's got a Switch 2, hopefully your midnight launch goes fine. Hopefully you can get yours early. And if not, hey, listen, tomorrow's June 5th. I hope you pick up your Switch 2s and you're having fun and you're learning everything about what you can do with them. And with that being said, everyone, we will see you all Friday.